Hi everybody, this is Dr. Joe Borio with Chiropassion Consulting. Thanks for joining us this evening. I thought I'd do it on our headset today and just break it up a little bit. We are going to talk about clarity, bringing clarity to your practice. And it's always an honor when people join us on our webinars and certainly check our archives. Our big announcement right now, we have an event coming up in our office. It's going to be November 15th and the 16th. And it is Friday night from 5 until 9-ish, and that's our philosophy extravaganza. We're going to go all day Saturday from 8 until 6. Anybody that's coming in from an advertisement or webinar, it's $97 for the doctor and the staff to join us. Students at a no cost. Students we bring in at no cost. And you get to spend a couple of days with us in our office, certainly learn about what we do, share the excitement of what we do, as I call it, sharpen your sword, polish your armor, and we get to spend time together mentoring and teaching. We do have a consulting company, as I mentioned, Chiropassion Consulting. I don't like the word coach so much lately. It's so cliche. I think I view what we do and what I do more as a mentor and as a teacher to bring chiropractic, both chiropractic philosophy and then the application of it, the pragmatic application and practice to the world. So that's exciting. One of the challenges we have in practice is clarity. And that's why I chose that as a topic. And what does that mean exactly? It means, what are you doing as the chiropractor in every aspect of your office, from what you do in the room when you adjust somebody to what do you do in your marketing? How do you say hello? How do you say goodbye? How do you guys answer the telephone? Do you do reevals, as we call them, nerve impulse checkups? How frequent are they? What's your objective of a nerve impulse checkup? Are you doing criteria tests, whether it be x-ray or surface EMG, thermography, bilateral weight scale, posture, range of motion? And why are you doing it? How are you explaining it? What are you looking for? How do you explain that to the people you serve? And on and on and on. And that's what I mean by clarity. What is it that you bring to people? We lack clarity as a profession as a whole. I say that because you hear about this tipping point that we're supposed to be hitting, and we're not even close. So we need to be at 15% or more penetration in order for us to have a tipping point. We would have far exceeded that decades ago, but we have no clear message. Are we treatment, or are we health promoting? Are we neck, back, and low back doctors? Are we subluxation based? Are we spiritual based? Are we philosophically based? Are we pragmatically based? Do we want to prescribe drugs? Do we want to do surgery? Do we want to be specialists for the spine in and self only? Do we want to be detoxification specialists, nutritional specialists, crystals, magnets, and on and on and on and on? And I don't say those other approaches to be flippant. I don't deny great benefit from so many other aspects that are in healthcare, but chiropractic needs to own something, and what we need to own is life. We need to own human potentiality. We need to own human potential through life, the full expression of life. That when you're disconnected, you have less life expression through your body. That makes sense. That's honest. That's true. That's scientifically factual. That is also spiritually factual. That's pragmatically factual. And that's clarity. So what I mean by clarity, again, is when you walk into an adjusting room, what is it that you're trying to do? Why do you put your hands on somebody in the first place? That's important. And that starts with your morning. Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Why do you hop in a car and drive to the office? Is it just to see more people? Is it just to make some money? It's a bad place to be if that's what it is, but unfortunately the majority of our profession, that's what we're doing. And what happens is we start to get lost, stand for something or fall for anything, and unfortunately we as a profession are falling for anything because we're a principle that we practice, and we forgot that. We end up becoming a profession first, and then what happens is the profession operates separate from the principle. So whatever the profession needs to do to survive, regardless of the principle, it will do, and then that's what's driving us with our scope of practice, with our mentality, our headspace, and so forth. And that's really caused a big problem. to where we are. And that's why people don't know what it is we do. We crack things for back and neck pain and headaches, and maybe it's dangerous, and maybe it helps, and if you go, you're going to have to go for the rest of your life. And, you just hear just foolish comments and negative stigma too often that we haven't been able to shake. Non-scientific, not honest. We're just looking to be there to pump people in and out. Again, that isn't explained well. An orthodontist doesn't throw braces on somebody for 2 years just to make a buck, or so they can stick them on somebody's teeth so they're stuck seeing us, or once you use them, you're addicted to them. They don't have that stigma, yet we do. One of those problems is because we have our own, if you will, that are chiropractors, or certainly by title, and they are the ones out there many times saying the negative things, which tend to have higher credibility because they're chiropractors within the chiropractic profession criticizing the chiropractors, and that creates a problem. So, we can go on and on all day on that, but that's the challenge. We need to have clarity, and we need to have a cohesive clarity. We need to have a congruent clarity. We need to have a large population, a constituency that's large enough to have clarity, because then that'll drive what it is we do. We also need to be successful in numbers at what it is we do in many ways. I don't just mean financially, but I mean in satisfaction of practice, satisfaction on the patient or practice member, satisfaction in our life, family life, spiritual life, physical, mental, and social well-being. We need to be healthy in all those areas as chiropractors, so that we attract more people to us that want what we have and that want to do what we do. And that's been a challenge as well. So when we get into clarity, going back to where we started here, what is it that you do? Why is it that you get out of bed in the morning? Why is it that you put your hands on somebody? So a couple of thoughts here I thought I would read with you. One is a book here. This is called The Great Undertow. And this was a book put together essentially by B.J. Palmer, but it was actually put together by some other individuals that had put together a lot of writings. And it goes through the history of, some of the history anyways, of the undertow, what had to be endured by B.J. Palmer in order to get licensure and acceptance and so forth in chiropractic. And what was interesting, and this book is great. It's a tough read at some points, but it's also a great book because it has so many great gems, so many great words, so many great examples and parables that BJ was so great in utilizing. And I go through things and I read it, and then I write it down and I read it again, and I write it down and I read it again, and underline it and read it again. But he was talking about in this instance, quantity and quality of flow. What's interesting is we talk about the quantity of flow and we talk about the quality of flow. And what we're talking about is the mental message, the mental signal, nerve flow, whatever you want to call it. And there's so many different ways to call it. But, what is it that's coming from the brain to communicate to the rest of the tissues? That is what is critical important to what it is we do, because the quantity is essentially dependent on the health of the brain, but it's also dependent on the health of the spine. So if there's subluxation, misalignment, aberrant motion of the spine, it tends to lessen the flow from the brain to the body to the tissue, and therefore often you see sickness and disease, or coordination, a loss of coordination becomes present. And then what happens over time is there is a development of disease. So BJ talked a lot about this. This is on page 182. Symptomatology goes to the tap root of quality of function. Pathology goes to the tap root of quality of matter. And it's interesting. So pathology is the quality of the matter. Symptomatology goes to the quality of function. So first and most often we get functional loss, which then leads to a change in how well the matter is organized, and then the matter then becomes diseased, or in this case a pathology. He talks a lot about quantity and quality. Quantity of function predetermines the quality of function. What predetermines the quantity? Again, we go right back to the spine, to the subluxation with its interference to transmission. That determines quantity. That condition of the spine predetermines the quantity of transmission flow. The quantity of transmission flow predetermines the quality of function in matter. And if I get too much electricity, what happens? It burns out. That is a simple illustration, but it is an obvious one. And he also talks about how you can get hyperfunction. D.D. Palmer talked a lot about that as well. So I don't want this talk to be just a philosophical talk, but it does come down into clarity. When we look at clarity, we look at something that's powerful. We look at something that has congruency. We look at something that has the ability to perform work. We look at something that has the ability to possess power. And that's what it is clarity gives us. If we have a laser is powerful because it has all of its energies focused in one small beam. If you blur the lens on a laser, then the light beam gets diffused and loses its ability to perform work or function, and therefore becomes less powerful. There's less clarity. That is important to understand because it's the clarity that's going to drive us. The other aspects of healthcare, and there are others, certainly, they own other aspects. In other words, chiropractic doesn't own wellness care. That's owned by everybody, if you will. Medicine has some ownership of wellness care, nutrition and detoxification and exercise and positive mental thoughts and so forth. Those are all been shown to benefit the body always, or in some cases, and they all offer a wellness to the body. I don't believe they're the paramount or the most important, but they certainly are beneficial to the body on some level, and I don't think anyone would deny that. D.D. Palmer himself didn't deny that. But what is it that we do? Why is it that you get out of bed in the morning? Why is it that you drive to the office? Why is it that you turn the lights on and the radio and the computers, and you have tables in there, and when you walk into a room and somebody's lying on a table, as they should be, to prepare for an adjustment, what is it that you do? What is it that you're looking for? Why are you looking for it? What is it that you're going to do now? Why do you thrust in that direction at that particular segment? And what is it that you hope will be accomplished, and how do you check it? What's your follow-up? What's your conversation? What is it that you say during the adjustment? All of those things are paramount to clarity. And how you bring people to the practice, how they're attracted to you, changes based upon your clarity. If your message is more clear, it's more powerful, it's more certain, it may turn some other people off, and that's not a bad thing. You want those people to come to the office on some level to be looking for what it is you have or do. And that saves you a lot of time, it saves them a lot of time, and more people stay with you, and more people bring their families, and then they stay with you. And then the good news with that is, I've been in practice 24 years now, so I'm working on the children of the children. So, and that's a wonderful thing. And their mom and dad still come in, and who are now grandparents, and their daughter Kim comes in, and her child comes in. So, and her husband comes in, and that's the beauty of practice. We talk about PVA, patient visit average. We still have people come and go, and we get new people to the practice on a weekly basis, and we're not high number practice with new people. But when you look around the practice, you're going to see that a majority of those people have been there. I mean, a minimum of 5 years. If probably 50% of the practice has been there well over 10 years, and you've got a large number of practice members, 20-25% that have been there for 15-20 years. So that's the type of practice that I love. That's the type of practice that's enjoyable. It's fun. I love that because we establish relationships with people that stay with you for a lifetime. And you really get to see miracles in that. Sometimes the greatest miracle, which we forget, is to watch healthy people stay healthy. We're always looking for people to say, well, I adjusted somebody and their cancer went away, or their migraines went away, or their epilepsy went away. And we've had that happen, but the thing that makes me the happiest is to never see the sickness and disease. The best part of our practice is that you work on babies from when they're born throughout most of their life, and they don't they're not challenged with health challenges that are beyond what the body can handle. They don't exceed the matter, if you will, because their body's never gotten so sick or disconnected. And that's certainly what I think is the profession is moving towards. I do see that in some areas. As insurance goes away and as we're challenged greater by insurance carriers and so forth, what we're going to be left with is our ability to communicate with confidence and clarity, and that's going to be critical. That's going to be very, very important. And I want us all to have that ability, that clarity. One of the things that Dee Dee Palmer said was, this is out of Giant versus Pygmy. This is page 115. And thus Dee Dee Palmer correlated chiropractic's cause from within with the vertebral subluxation. Is there a true chiropractic philosophy, he was asked. Most certainly, and this is it. Disease is not an entity, a thing, ready to strike out at you at any opportunity. It exists first as a disturbed function. I think that is probably one of the most profound statements that Dee Dee ever said. That disease is not an entity, and that really was his epiphany. That disease in and of itself is not an entity. That the pneumonia or the diphtheria or the polio or the migraines or the GERD or whatever it is that you came to see him for as a magnetic healer, or whether you came to see him as a chiropractor, he realized that the disease in and of itself was not what needed to be attacked. What needed to be attacked was the disturbed function in the body. Alleviate the disturbed function and let the body tend towards wellness. We have to agree on that the body tends towards wellness. An example I use always on our new patient review is when we educate people towards life and health and creation and vitalism and healing. Not only where does that come from, but that their body is designed to be healthy. So if I have a plant that's ill, no one looks at the plant and says, my God, it has cancer, it has migraines, it has erectile dysfunction. Nobody looks at that. Somebody looks at the plant and says, geez, it doesn't look good, so it must not be getting what it needs: water, nutrition, sunlight. It's in too cold of a climate, it's in too dry of a climate, it's too hot, it's too humid. And as a result, you change the environment of the plant, and the plant tends towards wellness. And that's just intuitive to people. Nobody gives it Advil. Nobody walks up to a plant and does an MRI or CT scan. Nobody rushes it off to the emergency room. You look at the plant, say it's sick, okay, recognize that without going to medical school and say, geez, that thing doesn't look so good. I need to give it what intuitively it needs, because that would be the only reason it would be sick. And the only reason you would derive at that deduction would be that you would believe that the plant innately was designed to be healthy. And all life is designed to be healthy. And if that's the case, then the plant or the human body or bacteria or whatever is designed to be healthy, and anytime it's not sick, it's not getting what it needs. One of the critical aspects of life in the human body and a vertebrate is the vertebral subluxation, a loss of communication through the nervous system. So I think if we have clarity that we are really nervous system experts, and what transverses through the nervous system is the big miracle. It's life. I mean, life is in all cells. If I look at a single cell amoeba, it has life. You could end the life of an amoeba. You can end the life of some type of bacteria. You could end the life of some single-celled organism very easily. That is the spark of life that is in all cells. And we, as human beings, happen to be the highest order, at least on Earth anyways, of the cell structure. And the cell structure uses the hardware of the nervous system to communicate. And where does that instruction come from? It comes from in the brain, and where does that come from? Well, there's the big question. But I think if we could connect ourselves to the idea that you are there to ensure that the brain could speak better to the body, that's a great place to start. And you could go further in trying to help people understand the intangible, that what is it that actually goes across the hardware of the body. What is it that the brain sends across the nerve in order to talk to a cell? I mean, that is such a great question to ask people. Well, messages or signals, commands, instructions, information, yes, and in that is life. Life is in that, and that is the voice of creation, the whisper of creation that actually vibrates through a tone through the nerves and allows the body and cells to work as one in an effort to achieve and then maintain homeostasis, right? So a balance within the body. And the body's always trying and expending an enormous amount of energy and effort and time to maintain homeostasis. And that's really where we need to hang our hat. We need to hang our hat at the highest expression of life, and is interfered with or inhibited by vertebral subluxation. We also know that subluxation is caused by many different things: physical, mental, and certainly chemical causes. But we also know that the subluxation is where the body essentially has failed to fully adapt. The subluxation is often where the body tried to adapt and at some point failed, because the body would never deliberately do something long-term harmful to the body. So we have to realize that because we put our body under a greater degree of stress than it was designed for, that's why we see subluxation so prevalent in our society, and certainly increasing. As soon as the industrialized age hit and people were working repetitive type jobs, our life sped up dramatically with the industrialized age. Our posture, our physicality of how we use our body, everything has changed dramatically. We've also developed a toxic world from the industrialized age. So there's so many more toxins. The stress, the autosuggestion, as was often talked about by Hubbard, can affect the body. So we recognize all that, and what it does is it causes the body's inability to maintain homeostasis, maintain function of the spine, and therefore the spine shifts out of alignment, causing pressure to the nerves, and then the nerves don't work as well. So the brain signal going to a pancreas or your prostate or your liver, your uterus, your fallopian tube, your ovary, your sciatic nerve, what have you, is diminished or effective. The quantity of flow to the nerve is to the cell is affected. The quality, innate, is always at 100%. So the quality isn't an issue at that point. It's the quantity, the amount of nerve information that it can get there to the cell. You may get poor quality after the subluxation because now it's only getting part of the signal, part of the message. But the concern there is to identify where the spine is lost in mobility or alignment, and then by means of an adjustment, you're going to reduce. In many cases, you can fully correct the subluxation. The problem is people go back into the same lifestyle. So if I have a guy, for example, that's a sorter at UPS, he is going to go back and still bend the same way, rotate the same way for the next 5 days, 7 to 12 hours a day. Christmas is coming; it's going to be 7 days a week, and it's going to cause that same subluxation. And as it stays there over a longer period of time, the body will start to develop that subluxation more and more through its own memory. So that's the concern. That's what it is we do. We have to anchor ourselves to a higher level of human expression. Reggie Gold defined the subluxation as an abomination to the full expression of human potential. And I think when we get into clarity, we need to anchor to something like that. That's beautiful. So if your level of certainty can get to that, I think that's great. If it can't, certainly anchor it to something that's significant. I mean, the subluxation is either significant or it's not. And if it's significant, that means what we do, what we say, how we approach it, how we are supposed to identify it and measure it and correct it, and then use something to measure the correction and so forth. Those should be significant criteria tests. Those things, those tests that we do should be reproducible. They should be at a high standard, and those are the things we need to bring forth to people and to the world. We need to express that subluxation occurs from birth on, and that babies need to be checked regularly, and mom and dad need to be checked regularly, and grandma and grandpa need to be checked regularly, and that it's never too late to start working towards a healthier nervous system. And I think part of our clarity is that they never get it. I say that all the time. One of my favorite quotes is actually from my football coach, but as soon as you stop playing to win, you start playing to lose. And what that means is, as soon as you stop the edge, as soon as you stop the pursuit of what it is you want to do or need to do, you almost stop winning, and you almost deliberately and inadvertently play to lose. A perfect example of that we train on in our program. But if you don't work hard at constantly being on point and educating people at every adjustment, as soon as you start taking the assumption that, well, they know, but she doesn't, and all of a sudden Bob discontinues care because his values dropped, and you're putting all the effort into somebody else. So that's where protocols, procedures, scripting, all of those things play a role. Some docs don't want to script because they feel as though they lose their authenticity. Well, I see that and I get that. Certainly if you have to handle an issue, I don't want you to walk into a room and be a robot. But at the same time, you need to know what to say, how to say it. You need to bring it forth with clarity and conviction and certainty with your ability to communicate. You need to be able to run your office efficiently. You need to run it in a timely fashion. You want to be able to communicate to somebody effectively within a predetermined amount of time. It shouldn't take you 20 minutes for this person and 5 minutes for this guy and 1 minute for this person and 30 minutes for there. Or your staff shouldn't be closing the door on you going, holy crap, I have no idea when he's going to come out. Those are the things that we can't do. We can't run our office that way. And that's going to come from clarity. Clarity means when you walk into the room, you know that you're walking in the room to clear interference to the full expression of human potential, and that spine will shift out of alignment regularly because we're born with a half-ton pickup and we carry 3-ton load throughout most of our lifetime. So the body was never designed to be used and utilized in the manner in which we use it, and that's why subluxation is so prevalent and really an epidemic in society, and therefore it's causing a significant amount of pestilence, disease, sickness, illness in our society. And chiropractors bring with it an ability to change the world by identifying that healing and life and creation occurs from within, and that you possess not only within your hands but certainly within your heart, and most efficiently, most effectively, most powerful is in your mind, the ability to bring this message to the world. That's what I mean by clarity. And boy, when you start walking around with that shield, that armor, that sword, and they're sharp and polished, and you got ammo, you can effectively handle those challenges along the way. And the stakes are high, and you can make a difference for people in the world every day, whether it's a little girl, whether it's a baby, whether it's mom and dad. And like I said, sometimes the greatest miracles are the ones that are just keeping people healthy throughout the rest of their life. Guys, we got an event coming up November 15th, 16th. We'd love to see you there. You can join us through the web at chiropassionconsulting.com/Syracuse. You can call us at the office. You can jump right on the website. Whatever it's going to take to get you there, certainly share a message, bring it to the world, and if you resonate with us, we'd love to be your mentor and teacher, helping you bring forth the chiropractic message forth to the world. So this has been Dr. Joe Borio. It's been great spending the half hour with you this evening. Don't forget to check us out on the web, and consider yourself first lesson number 1 for Chiropractic Consulting. Thanks so much, guys, for spending the night. May your innate always flow from above down, and I certainly love all of you for loving what we all love. Thank you so much.
Best friend gave me the best advice. He said each day's a gift and not a given right.